Hello guys, today we're going to be doing the first installment of the set review for Strixhaven. We're going to be going through color by color. This first video we're going to be going through white. But before we start, I want to preface a few things. First of all, this is a limited set review, so we're looking only into limited. We're not thinking about constructed. I might make a mention of constructed here and there, but the main goal is to look at limited. Second of all, I'm a 2-1 merchant, so I'm not your Kyle Roses, your Deathseas of Twitch. I'm more of a guy that just is not bad, but is also not that good. I just always stay in the middle. I'm average. Just giving my opinion and my first impressions. I haven't looked at most of these cards yet. I just want to gather your opinions as well and sort of create a conversation here about the cards. That being said, let's get started. So our first card here is Academic Probation. For 1 and a white, we have a lesson. So first of all, let's remind us of what lesson is. So some cards have learn, and when you learn, you can either get a lesson from your sideboard, or you can discard a card and draw a card, or draw a card and discard a card. I don't remember the order right now. It's either loot or rummage? Can't remember right now. So usually these cards are not going to be that good, but let's take a look. So choose one. Choose an online card name. Opponents can cast spells with the chosen name until your next turn. Choose target. Okay, so this card is basically unplayable. You're not going to want this. If you have in your sideboard, there's the off chance you might learn for it. But yeah, you should not be picking this card until like 13th, 14th pick, unless you want a rare draft, especially on Arena. Next we have Ageless Guardian. For 2 mana you have a Spirit Soldier, a 1/4. This is sideboard against aggressive decks, if that comes to that. I can't see anything else, and that is a common. You can't expect much of it, but a 1/4 for 2 is really not gonna do much for you. Just gonna hold the ground. So yeah, not excited. It's a late pick, might be your 23rd card if you're struggling. I'm gonna hope I don't put a card into too many decks, only sideboard it. Next we have Beaming Defiance for 1 and a white again. It's an instant. Target creature control gets +2/+2 against hexproof until the end of turn. +2/+2 only for 2 mana is not that great. Doesn't give you evasion per se. Doesn't give you flying. Doesn't give you unblockable. Gives you hexproof, so it's gonna be good against removal especially. Not exciting, but this set is full of removal. I've scrolled through the cards real quick, so I know there's a lot of removal, but this card is really not that exciting. I might play it in my white-red decks, but I wouldn't be too excited about it unless, I mean, it's good sideboard against removal heavy decks. That's for sure. Clever Lumimancer. I've seen this card for constructed. So it has Magecraft. So Magecraft is whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, something happens. So in this case, it gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. It's otherwise a 0/1, which is really mediocre. It's an uncommon worth noting. It's a constructed card in my opinion. It's gonna be okay-ish in your instant sorcery heavy decks, but even then, needing to have an instant sorcery so your creature becomes a 2/3, which is not even that good of a stat. Like Ageless Guardian already blocks that. Yeah, no, not excited about that one either. Next I have Combat Professor. This card was I was on the stream when it was previewed by the Ham TV. So it's a bird cleric for 4 mana, a 2/3 with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature control gets +1/+0 and gains Vigilance until the end of the turn. So you can see this is a 3/3 flyer for 4 with Vigilance, which is really good because this is usually going to be in your aggressive decks. Is a very good way to end the game with your flyer. Also, when it comes in, the same time it comes in, you can already pump one of your creatures and give it Vigilance, so it already gives you 1 extra blocker for their attack. So this card is really, really good. 4 mana is always heavy for white decks, so we've seen the current format. Card Helm. I can't say the set's name for Christ's sake, but that's fine. You see the white decks kind of curving out at 3. This format might be different, we don't know yet. Obviously it's gonna change, or my opinion might change on some of these cards as the format goes on. But I'm very excited about this one. I'm definitely wouldn't mind having 2 or even 3 of these as my top end. Next we have 4 mana for Defend the Campus. Instant, choose 1. That's not exciting. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So you have a 4 mana charge. or a normal Smite the Monstrous. Unexciting sideboard against big creature decks. Otherwise, please don't put this card in your deck. I think, well, obviously my opinion might change with as a normal of the format, but I think this card is gonna be a sideboard card. 4 mana 4/4, an anthem for a turn is not good enough. Detention Vortex, so it's a single white enchantment aura uncommon. Enchantment and permanent, enchantment can attack or block, and its activated ability can't. Activated abilities can't be activated. 3 mana destroy Detention Vortex. Okay, so it's a pacifism that your opponents can destroy. That seems bad. Like, pacifism is an amazing card, but if I pacify your creature and you can just spend 3 mana to get rid of it, and that's it, and the pacifism is gone, that does not seem good. Like, if you're in a hyper aggressive deck, you can take the blocker. Your opponent wasting 3 mana, or that turn 3, maybe that turn 4, to get rid of this, so they can get the blocker back, might be okay, but I'm really not excited about this. Really not. That's not what what have you done to my pacifism? Don't like that. I could be wrong, but I really don't like the vibe of that. Devastating Mastery. So for 2 and 1, 2, 3, it's 4 white, so 6 mana, a rare sorcery. You may pay 4 and pay the spell's mana cost, so it's the Mastery cycle. Destroy non-land permanents. If you pay 4 instead, choose up to 2 non-land permanents. An opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and returns them to their owner's hand. So it's either 6 mana. Oh, I can't remember the name of the card. It just destroy all permanent, which is fine. It's of quadruple white instead of triple white. Can't remember the name of the card, but that's okay. Or it's a Wrath of God that lets your opponent rebuy 2 of their stuff, which is, if you're desperate, might be fine. Not great. I'm happy to have this, and even I wouldn't be happy to have in my aggressive deck, but like in my mid range, in my control decks in draft, this is great top end. Just a good way to clean the board and move on with my day. And there's always the fail scenario of just casting it for 4 mana. Good card. Dueling Coach, 4 mana for an uncommon 2/2 human monk. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter target creature. So it can be a 4 mana 3/3 at worst. That's okay. Then for 5 mana and tap, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature, control a +1/+1 counter on it. Worth noting, doesn't say only a sorcery speed, so that's really good. So you can play this on turn 4, and on turn 5 you can already start putting counters in it, extra counters in it, or on any other creature that has a counter in it as well. So this seems really good. Good top end for any counters deck. Yeah, this card is decent. I don't think I would pick it way too early, but it's a good menacing, especially for sealed more than draft. This card's gonna be great in sealed. Eager First Year. For 2 mana we have a creature human wizard 2/2, so it's at worst it's gonna be a bear with Magecraft, so it's probably gonna be a bear most of the time. Whenever you cast, it gets +1/+0, so it's fine. It's a bear with upside. I'm okay with having this. I much prefer Story Seeker, which is just a bear with lifelink, can never get bigger, but not on its own, I mean. But yeah, this is fine. Your 22nd, 23rd card in your aggressive deck. But other than that, is just that. Next I have Elite Spellbinder, so this is Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa World Championship card. I think it's way more slanted for Constructed, but anyway, 3 mana for a 3/1 flyer. Wait, that's fine. Like, that's kind of what you're looking at here for limited, so it's a 3 mana 3/1 flyer, which is fine. That's fine. Not great. I mean, it is pretty decent, let's be honest. But yeah, so it's a rare, so you're not gonna see it often. It does better if you look at target opponent's hand, so you get a lot of information. That's good. You may exile non-land card from it. For as long as the card remains exiled, its owner must play it. May play it. May, not must. So it just puts a tax on the card. That's good. So it's a 3/1 flyer for 3. That's good in my books. It's a shame it's so rare, so you're not gonna see it often. But 3/1 for 3 flyer, that's okay. Expel. This card is very good removal. Well, 3 mana is a bit rough, but it's good removal. So for 3 mana on a common, instant speed. Please note, instant speed. We usually see this on a sorcery speed card. Exile target tapped creature. Obviously, you're gonna be upset when you play against any vigilant creatures. But Otherwise, you just kill your creature and then you're not gonna have any way to recur it. Graveyard recursion there is. But yeah, I will be excited to have like 2, 3, maybe even 4 in my slower decks. I love my removal. We're not gonna be looking at Flame Scroll because I'm gonna count this as a red card even though the back is a white card. We're gonna be looking at this when we go through the red cards. So next we have Guiding Voice. So for 1 mana sorcery, put a +1/+1 on target creature. At sorcery, yikes. But it has Learn. So with Learn, you may reveal a lesson card from outside the game. So from your sideboard and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. So it's discard to draw. So it's a loot. No, it's a rummage. I think it's rummage. Yes, it is a rummage. So for example, we'll be able to find an academic probation, which wouldn't be great. The effect on its own is mediocre. The effect plus a discard and draw, still mediocre. If you have maybe even with a couple of lessons on your sideboard, maybe I would consider playing this card if they're decent lessons, well, medium to decent, because if they're decent, they most likely will be in your deck, unless you have a lot of Learn, cards with Learn. But yeah, this is not an exciting card, just a +1/+1 counter for 1 mana, it's not great. Learning Light Scribe. I hate reading card names. I'm just gonna butcher all of them, that's fine. 2 mana for 2/2, so it's a bear, it's worse, or it's a cat, but it's a bear. Rare, so not gonna see it often. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant. Creature control get plus. Ooh, so it gives an anthem effect for the whole gang. That's pretty good for the whole litter, I guess, because they're cats. Seems good. Pair it with a Guiding Voice. You already got a 3/3 and whatever other creature, so this seems like a good aggressive card. You pair it up with any pump spell in combat, any kind of your run amoks of Cloudhelm, your anything, any instant speed combat trick will really mess up the blocks for your opponents. Good card, shame it's a rare, we won't see it often. Mavinda. Student's Advocate, so it's mythic. We're not gonna see this often, but let's take a look anyway. Legendary creature, Bird Advisor, 2/3 flyer for 3. That's fine. Not too exciting, but that's fine. For 0 mana, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target creature you control, it costs 8 more to cast this way. If the spell will be put into your graveyard, that's really good. Only once each turn. So you can even do it during your opponent's turn. And if you play Commander 4 times, you know that, each opponent's. Again with Leonin, I guess there's some kind of combat trick thing you can do here. Even paying 8 extra in a sealed game, that's very doable. And the body on itself is already fine. The ability is great. Really excited about this card. Would be very happy to have in most of my decks. Well, probably all my decks that are white, obviously. Next we have Miller. So this is a white card, even though the back is red, we're going to be looking at both sides. So it's a 3 mana, 1 and 2 white, for Fox 2/3 Fox. Not exciting, it's legendary, doesn't matter, it's mythic, we're not going to be seeing 2 of them in the same draft too often. Whenever an opponent attacks 1 or more planeswalkers you control, that's not going to come up. Put a loyalty count on each planeswalker you control. That's not coming up, don't need to worry about that. Whenever permanent you control becomes the target of a spell ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. That's really good. So whenever they try to destroy a creature, most likely it's going to be Miller, going to be the target. You get to draw a card, so it gets to replace itself. So at the worst, it's probably going to be a 2/3 that replaces itself. Well, with a random card, but still. But for 4 and 2 red, we get Luca, Wayward, I almost read Boner instead of Bonder. So you has 5 loyalty for 6 mana walker, that's decent. So +1 you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. If a creature card was discarded, so you draw 2 cards instead. Okay, so your late game you can discard a creature if you're looking for remove and draw 2. That's good value in a way. For -2, return to a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield against haste, exile at the beginning of your next end step. That's a good finisher. If you have a fatty in the graveyard, you can bring it back for a turn, get a big hit in, and then it goes away. You can do it twice because it has 5 loyalty, or you can do it 2 turns. So that's good. And then -7, so we're looking at the emblem, which won't come up often, but at the emblem, you got an emblem with whenever creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So that emblem should win you the game. This card is fantastic. Both sides are great. If you don't need to be Boros to play them. You could be in a mono white deck or white green aggressive deck and you're still playing Miller. You can be red green and still be playing Luca. You can be red black still playing Luca. So you know, even though this is a Boros card per se, it's not a Boros card. Okay, next Pilgrim of the Ages. 2 and a white for a creature spirit 2/1. No flying. That's a yikes. When he enters the battlefield, you may search library for basic planes. Okay, so he finds the land. No flying though. Not exciting. And he doesn't fix your mana either. Because we usually have those Wayward Servant, is it called? Skittering Surveyor. So they find land of any type. Basic land of any type, obviously, but that's fine. Okay, you can return it. Okay. This ability at the end makes me want it in sealed and in my control decks, kind of. Especially my control decks. Return it from your graveyard to your hand, so you can end step, so it doesn't say sorcery speed. Worth noting, a lot of designs of late have had this at sorcery speed only activation kind of thing. This one doesn't. So at the end of the turn, you can bring it back, play on your turn, get a land, play the land, and then just rinse and repeat, because you also can just chump block. It's fine. It won't go into your aggressive decks. It doesn't help to splash anything. It doesn't ramp you, but it makes sure you get your land drops. But I'm looking at my seal decks and I'm looking at my control decks for this card. Next, I have a 5-mana 2/2 flyer, Spirit Cleric, Pillar Drop Rescuer. When you enter the battlefield, return a creature with mana value. So mana value worth noting is then used converted mana cost. So it's a shorter way. So let's get used to that. 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Why to my hand? Why can't it be to the battlefield? I'm getting it. This is a 5-mana 2/2 flyer. Why can't I put the creature into the battlefield? If I put it into the battlefield, I would want it in most of my decks. Not in my aggressive decks. But a 5-mana for only a 2/2 flyer is not great. Getting a creature back, that's nice. There is a lot of mana value there, but I don't know. I'm not too excited. This in my mid-range decks. Maybe my blue-white flyers. I'll probably play that, but I'm not excited about this. Not too excited. Okay, next blog. We're not gonna look into that, even though it's a Boros card. At the front is a red card. We have then Professor Simbology. So 1 and a white for 2/1 core cleric. When he enters, you learn. We haven't seen many lessons. There's a lesson coming up, but it's a 2-drop with upside. I'm fine with this. 2-drop with 2 power with upside. This is good. We play a lot of those. The red one in the current draft format, where you enter the battlefield and you get to rummage. This one can just straight up draw your cards, so that's good. So reduce to memory. So 1 and double white for sorcery lesson. Worth noting, lesson. Exile target non-land permanent. Control creates a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token without flying. Sad. So I'm not excited about giving my opponent a 3/2, but a 3/2 is blockable as opposed to the thing exile might have been a problem. Worth noting, I can exile something I own as well, so if I have something that has been pacified, if there's some kind of pacifism in the set, I can do that. But even then, I'm not excited to have this in my main deck, but in my sideboard as a lesson with a few learn cards, I like it. Secret oh my, I can't say it. Secret. This is a secret. The rest of the name of the card is a secret. So for 1 and 2 white, you get to draw 3 cards, and your opponent as well. No thanks. Maybe thanks. The thing is, if you're playing aggressive deck, drawing 3 cards could be the final push to winning the game, but you're also giving your opponent 3 chances to find an answer for your final push anyway. But since they're gonna be already on a bottleneck, that they already have a lot of cards in hand because you're putting pressure, it might be fine. But I'm looking at this and it's screaming Commander at me. I would like to be proven wrong. Maybe there's an aggressive deck that will want this, but this screams Commander. I'm sorry. Secret. I can't say your name, so I'm glad you're not playable. Moving on. Selfless. I hope you're not playable. Selfless person. For 2 and a white, you have a 2/3 creature human cleric. Exile it. Creatures you control get indestructible. So this makes combat maths really complicated for your opponent because you can just save your whole board. Doesn't have any flash, doesn't have any evasion like Selfless Spirit or something like of the sort, but you know, 2/3 that can protect your whole board is good. Backside, it's a sorcery, 5 and 3 black. This is a thick sorcery. Choose a creature planeswalker, then destroy all other creatures and planeswalkers. That's insane. That's it. Is it Plague Wind it's called? I don't think it's Plague Wind. But Doom Blast. Yes, it's like Doom Blast in a way, so you just choose something and destroy everything else. Choose a creature planeswalker. So worth noting, if you don't have any creature planeswalker, you're gonna have to choose one of their creature planeswalker. If I'm not reading this wrong, because it's not choose up to, it's choose a. So you have to choose one. So make sure you have a creature in play or a planeswalker. I mean, if you have a planeswalker, you're probably fine when you cast this card. But this card is great. Again, same issue. It's not same issue, same thing as before. You can play this in a green white, or you can play this in a black blue deck, for example. It goes in either deck, not only an Orzhov deck. But this side, I'm very excited. It's expensive, but it's game changing. Semester End for 3 and a white is an instant. Exile any number of target creatures you control and planeswalkers. Won't come up often. At the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield on its owner's control. So if you stole a creature of theirs, don't target them with this. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature. So you can basically block everything, exile your whole board, they come back strong, and then you can Alpha Strike for the win, for example. You can save your board from a wrath. You can save a creature from a removal and just exile everyone. You can just do it as value. Then remember to do it at the second main phase, because otherwise, if you do it at the end step, because it returns at the beginning of the next end step, you're only going to return at your end step. So remember that. Have a stop at the main phase, second main phase, if you're going to use Semester's End. But I do like this card. I like it more in like probably Commander with ETB creatures, but I think the effect is still fine. I'm not sure if I would pick it early, but I wouldn't be unhappy to have it in my deck. So it's a fine card. Next I have Shaylee, Dean of Radiance, 1 and a white for 1/1 Flying Vigilance. Bird Cleric, legendary. It's rare, legendary, might come up, not so often though. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that enters the battlefield under control this turn. So you can't put a +1/+1 counter on it unless somehow you give it haste. It won't make your other creatures big. It's a flyer. You can just sit there and keep. You can hit them for 1 because that's Vigilance, and then make your creatures enter the battlefield that turn bigger. It's fine. Not so excited, I guess. All your creatures coming in and being bigger is nice, but it itself is its body is not exciting. But I think it's fine. It's fine. I'll definitely play it in my white aggressive decks. Backside I have an Ambrose, Dean of Shadow, 2 and 2 black for 4/4. So already passes the vanilla test. Legendary creature, human. So tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature, then deal 2 damage to that creature. So you probably want to put it on a creature that will survive the 2 damage. Unless, worth noting, you can put on an opponent's creature and deal 2 damage. So you can, if he has already been dealt damage, you can finish it off, or if it's the 1 toughness creature, you can deal 2 damage to it. Whenever creature you control, worth noting here, it counts only creatures you control, with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. This side is, I like this side so much better. Yeah, this side is great. White black seems to be a counter theme, so this card's gonna be great in the deck, and even using the first ability as a removal will come up as well. Very, very good card. I'll definitely first pick this. I'm running out of voice. I'm not used to talking this much when I record. Anyway, Show of Confidence, 1 and a white for an instant. Whenever you cast this, copy it for each other instant sorcery spell you've cast this turn. So it only copies for each instant and sorcery you've cast, so it's not quite Storm per se. So put a +1/+1 counter on target creature against Vigilance until the end of turn. Putting a counter is very nice. If you cast another pump spell this turn, you get to copy it, so that's also very decent. Just 1 counter though, I wouldn't be too excited about it, because it doesn't give protection. Vigilance is not evasion, even though it does help if you're attacking. But yeah, not very high on my my pump spell list. But it's okay. I wouldn't be too unhappy to have it in my aggressive decks. Especially in my since there's a +1/+1 theme deck in this set. So next we have Sparring Thingy. 2 and a white, enchantment. End this battlefield, learn. So you get to find a lesson or rummage. Whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature and untap it. So you only do it whenever you attack. Okay, so whenever you declare your attack, is this gonna happen? Is whenever a creature attacks? It's not whenever a creature attacks. Worth noting that. It's like Exalted, but better. Yeah, because it gives a +1/+1 counter, so it's gonna be permanent. Next turn, you're gonna get even bigger. Untap it, so it gives it vigilance in a way. If it has an activated ability like Endbros, you get to do it, or like the backside of it, the front side rather, like Shaley, you get to do it. This card is good. It's good for breaking board stalls as well, because you can just keep hitting with one creature and making it bigger. You can also hit with 2 creatures, one as a kind of like you can die and then make the other one bigger, so there's a lot of play to it. I do like this card. Again, looking more at your aggressive decks and your +1/+1 decks, because if you have, for example, Embrose, the creature that attacks, if it dies you're drawing a card, so that's very very good. Okay, next we have Pupil. I always forget how to say certain words. Why am I struggling with life? Star Pupil, 1 mana for 0/0. When he enters the battlefield, put a +1/+. He enters with a +1/+1 counter on it, so it's gonna be a 1/1. When it dies, put its counter on target creature you control. Okay, so this is a role player. You're gonna be playing this card mostly like 95% of the time in your deck with other counter synergies. There's a chance you play an aggressive deck that doesn't have counter synergies if you have pump spells, and then you can put the counters on another creature. This works really well with something like Show of Confidence. You get to put a counter in it, and then when it dies you move both counters to something else. Role player will be happy in my +1/+1 counter deck, won't be too happy with it elsewhere. Stonebinder's Familiar. For 1 mana we have a Spirit Dog. Aww, that's cute. A 1/1 Spirit Dog. Whenever one or more cards are put into exile during your turn. Not sure how cards are being put into. I mean, I guess you have like Semesters and Exiles, but there's probably other stuff as well. I mean, the next card over already does it. Whenever that happens, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It only triggers once, so you can only do that once each turn. So you're gonna need, for you to want to play this card, you're gonna have to have a lot of ways to exile cards during your turn. Well, not a lot, maybe like, I don't know, just a 1/1 is not exciting. You need a handful of ways to make it. It doesn't have any evasion either. I don't think this is too playable. I'm sorry, but this is not too play, because as you can see, a lot of the exile things need you to pay some mana, so this is gonna be a no for me. No. I probably won't play it. I need to see more, but right now this is a no. If 3 months from now this is the best card in the format, please call me an idiot. Next I have Stonerise Spirit, 2 mana for 1/2 flying bird spirit. 4 mana exile card from your graveyard, target creature gains flying. If the stats are reversed, this will be a slam dunk insane card. As a 1/2 flyer, we have like the Raptor right now, which is a 1/2 flying first strike for 1 mana in the current format. Obviously different formats, different scenarios, but I'm gonna say this ability is gonna be very good when there's a board stall, so you can bring this in from the sideboard. Might be better maybe if you're playing white green with big creatures, so you can jump them. But yeah, not particularly excited about it itself, but if you give it specific cards alongside it, it will be okay. It'll be good, but by itself it's not. Strict Proctor, 1 and a white for red spirit cleric, 1/3 flyer. So 1/3 flyer for 2. Whenever permanent entering the battlefield causes a trigger ability to trigger, counter the ability unless its controller pays 2. Okay, so this is more targeted to constructed, it feels like. It's a spirit, for example, to some collected company deck, but as far as limited goes, it can counter your own stuff, so that's not great. So be careful if you're playing this, if you don't have too many ETBs, for example. Doesn't work without Pupil. Just making sure. I'm pretty sure it doesn't, but I could be mistaken. Um, Make sure you don't have too many ETBs if you're playing this card. You could side it in against a deck full of ETBs. A 1/3 flyer is not great. It blocks well, but other than that, it's not too exciting. Like, I would not be too keen to have it in my aggressive decks. 2 mana for an instant called Study Break. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Yuck. And you have Learn as well. So again, I think this kind of card you play if you have a couple of good lessons in your sideboard. Because tap up to 2 target creatures in your aggressive deck, that's okay. But that's not great, because next turn they have the bit back there and you might not have enough damage to push through. This card is, like, if your Learn is good, this card is decent. If your Learn is not good, this card is bad. As in, if you have lessons in your sideboard. I'm just gonna say this card is not gonna be great in the format. This is probably gonna be your 15th pick in most decks. I could be mistaken. Last card. Oof, my voice is gone. Thunderous Orator. 1 and a white for a 2/2 core wizard with Vigilance. So it's a bear with Vigilance. Let's see what else does it offer us. When it attacks, it gains flying until end of turn if you control a creature with flying. The same is true for first strike, double strike, death touch, and shock level, lifelink, menace, and trample. This card is great. It's a bear with already upside on itself, and as you have other cards with flying. Do you have anything else with? I don't think I saw anything. So there's a lot of flying, 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 flying. Do we really only have flying? Yeah, we only have flying white. We're gonna see in the other colors. I assume that's probably gonna be first strike for sure. This card just gets even better. So at its worst, it's very good. At its best, it's pretty freaking good. So this is a very good card. I wouldn't be opposed to first picking it if there's enough keywords in the rest of the format. So that's it for the white cards. We're probably going to be back tomorrow with the blue cards and so on and so forth. Let me know what you think about the cards, your first impressions, and what card you're most excited about. And until next time, see ya.